Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for coming along to this Learning Lunchtimes webinar. This is preparing for generous giving at Christmas. I'm Kate Ford. I'm the Diocesan Giving Advisor, and we'll be talking through a few topics to do with generous giving at Christmas over the next 45 minutes. A few housekeeping points if you haven't been to one of these before, just to note that we can't see or hear you at all. So if you do want to ask a question, then please use the Q&A function. There's a button at the bottom of the screen, which you can press on, called Q&A, and you can type a question into there or a comment or anything that you want to add. I will be looking at all of those questions right at the end. I won't be looking at them as we go along, but please do add some questions in there. And secondly, this webinar is being recorded, so we will be sending around a recording of this after the webinar, so don't worry if you lose connection or if you have to disappear halfway through. And finally, just to recognise that there is a wide range of people and parishes represented on this call. So there's clergy, treasurers, church wardens, PCC members from parishes large and small from all over the diocese. So if this wasn't quite what you were expecting, or if you don't feel it's so relevant to your parish, please do get in touch. I'd love to have a chat to you individually about how this topic might apply more specifically to your parish. So this webinar is all about preparing for generous giving at Christmas, making sure that your church is set up with all the right mechanisms to enable generous giving, and also that you are communicating in a way that will encourage generous giving from all those visitors that you'll be getting throughout Advent and Christmas. The principles we're going to talk about are not particularly Christmassy. They apply equally all year round. It's just that I find Christmas is a time when parishes tend to stop and think about how people can give and how they are asking people to give, particularly visitors and people who are not part of your regular congregation. So we're going to cover four main areas, and those are, firstly, making a confident ask. Secondly, having a compelling giving message, making giving easy and visible, and finally, maximising those gifts. So let's get started with what I often find is the hardest bit for parishes, which is making a confident ask at services or events. So first of all, we'll look at making a verbal ask during a service or event. Please don't be afraid to ask. Most people will be coming to your Christmas services expecting to be asked for money at some point. It's the season of generosity, so you really can ask confidently. You're not ambushing them unexpectedly. Do keep it brief. You don't want the focus of your whole carol service to be on giving, but do take some time to plan a couple of inspiring sentences, and we'll talk a bit more later about what those might be. Do try and make that ask at a time when people can respond immediately. So if you want people to use your contactless machine to give, but they can't do that until they're leaving, don't make your pitch right at the beginning of the service, because even if you inspired them to give generously then, the moment might have passed by the time they actually get around to doing it. I know that for a lot of people, asking a crowd of people for money face to face can feel incredibly awkward and like a really difficult thing to do. And if that's you, if you identify with that feeling, I'm going to ask you to try to reframe how you think about asking. A phrase that I often hear when I'm out and about with PCC meetings is getting out the begging bowl. Sorry to ask, but things are really difficult for us financially at the moment. So if you're able to spare anything at all to help us, we'd be so grateful. How does listening to that make you feel? Like, perhaps I really ought to give something, but it doesn't make me feel good. I'm not inspired at all to want to give. But if you can reframe that ask as simply giving people the opportunity to support all the amazing things you do, that suddenly feels quite different, doesn't it? Encouraging visitors to give generously is not about pressure, it's about invitation. So I've been using the word ask, but actually let's use the word invitation instead. Instead of apologising, we're offering people the opportunity to support the meaningful, life-giving work that your church already does. And that shift in mindset from reluctance to invitation changes everything. It's about turning giving from being a transaction into joining in with something precious and lasting. And we'll talk more later about crafting your giving message. So, as well as a verbal ask or invitation, it's also important to communicate your giving message in a variety of other ways too. So, make sure there's also a visual ask or invitation in a variety of places around the church. I'm going to show you a variety of templates now to give you some ideas of what a visual ask might look like. And please remember that this is as well as, not instead of, asking verbally. We in the giving team can help you make any of these templates, or if you prefer, we can just send you the template link and you can do it yourselves. And I realise we're now getting quite close to Christmas, but we can give you lots of help to get any of these turned around in a week or so. So if one of these catches your eye and you think it would be great to have those in church for our Christmas services, do get in touch and we'll see what we can do for you. So the first one is a nice customized background for your contactless device with a big photo of your church on. I really believe this makes a huge difference rather than the plain blue standard background that comes as default. There's no doubt about where donations are going to, who you're supporting if you give on this machine. The suggested donation amounts make it very clear what you're being asked to do. It says donate and how to do it. Tap this button. It's just a no-brainer, and these big screens really do catch your eye. So this is a very good visual ask. If your church doesn't yet have one of these devices with a screen like this, do get in touch. We've got a small grant scheme open to help with the cost of buying one of these devices. And we also have some try before you buy devices available to borrow. So you could borrow one for free for 3 months over the Christmas period just to see how you get on with it. And finally, just think about the positioning of your contactless device in the church. Remember that most people give as they leave, not when they arrive. So make sure it's in the very best possible location for people to see it and walk past it as they leave the church. Seeing the back of a contactless device is not a visual ask. And remember, you can unplug it. The battery lasts 7 or 8 hours or so for your bigger services, you're not limited to keeping it next to a socket. I've been quite a few churches recently where I've asked if they've got a contactless device and they say, oh yeah, it's over there. You shouldn't have to make a detour to use a contactless device. It should ideally be directly on your route out of the church. These little postcards with a giving QR code on are so handy to have as well as your contactless device. So these sit in the pews or at the back of church, or we could even hand them out with orders of service, and they just allow people to give on their mobile phones. So you can use the QR code on its own, of course, but these postcards look really smart and really professional. And I think a big part of encouraging people to give generously is about looking trustworthy and professional. So rather than a dog-eared piece of A4 paper with a QR code on it sellotaped to the church door, these just look smart. They have a good giving message on them, and people might take them away with them, which is great too. Parishes often worry about the cost of printing things like this. So just to give you a ballpark figure for comparison, I got 250 of these printed recently for about £40. I think it's helpful to have an idea of that as a benchmark. So if a local printer quotes you £150, you can definitely do better than that. Then what do you see when you scan the QR code? Again, if it's nice if it looks smart, it matches your postcard, it has a picture of your church on. So again, this is a template for a background that we can help you to set up in Give a Little, and let us know if you'd like some help getting that set up before Christmas. And of course, you can also use those QR codes in orders of service as well. The 4 giving logos you can see on the right, again, they're a template that I've made, so you can customize those for your church. And then you can just drop those into any orders of service or pew sheets. And you can be quite bold with QR codes too. If you're having an offertory carol, why not put the QR code right next to the carol in the order of service? I've heard of people making a bit of a joke of it. I wouldn't normally encourage you to get your phone out during a hymn, but if it's because you're making a gift on our QR code, please feel free to do so. That could be quite effective. Posters around the church. They're old school, but they are definitely impactful. Again, these are templates that we can help you to customize very quickly. So think carefully about where you can put them around the church. Where are people stopping and milling around? Where will they be queuing for teas and coffees or mulled wine? Don't just bury them in a sea of other posters on your notice board, or they'll just get missed. Is there anywhere outside your building you could put something like this too? And we'll talk a bit later about suggesting different ways to give rather than just a one-off gift. But these are leaflets about regular giving and legacy giving. And again, they're just a no-brainer to have at the back of church, or ideally sitting next to your contactless machine. And we can help you get them customized. So if you don't have anything like this and you'd like some help or the link to these templates to do it yourselves, just let us know. And again, as a ballpark figure, these cost me about £35 to get 250 printed on quite nice sort of semi-glossy paper. So they're not too expensive. And they should be fine to sit at the back of church for quite a few years to come. There's nothing that particularly dates them. So they're quite a good investment. All the templates I've shown you are in an online design program called Canva. It's really excellent for producing high quality design work, and it's really easy to use. I can just send you links to all these templates and you drop in a photo of your church and you change the text as you want to. Or as I've said, we're really happy to do that for you if that's easier. Church of England parishes are eligible for a free Canva premium account, so please don't pay anything for it, and I'll send round a link to explain how to get that set up if that's of interest too. And Canva isn't just good for giving literature, but also for social media posts, posters and flyers for any church events. It just makes things look really smart and professional. So that was making a confident ask. So now we're going to move on to having a compelling message about giving. The message that you share with visitors to encourage them to give generously will probably be a bit different to the message you give to your congregation during a giving campaign. Their reasons and their motivations for giving will probably be a bit different to regular churchgoers, so you can adjust your message to fit. So what elements might you include in your giving message? I'm going to give you some ideas of messages that particularly resonate with visitors, but every parish is different, so you can have a think about which ones of these feel particularly relevant for your parish. If your church has a fairly long history in your local community, that's something you can really build on for people who are not regular churchgoers. Christmas is a time when many people come back to church because of childhood memories, family tradition, or the special atmosphere. And if you remind them why this place, this building feels special, you're tapping into an emotion they already have. And that emotional connection makes people far more willing to support the church's future. You're asking people to help preserve centuries of prayer, community history, local identity, craftsmanship, a place that's held joys and sorrows of many generations. So you're framing giving in terms of continuing a local story. We're inviting you to help write the next chapter of this church's story. And I think it's worth noting at this point that the word church to us and to your congregation means the people and the ministry. But remember that for visitors and non-churchgoers, when you say the church, they will be thinking about the place, the building. And actually for them, it may well be the place itself that holds the emotional attachment. So in this context, talk their language and use the word church in the way that they understand it. A couple of phrases that I like here. This church has been at the heart of our local community for over 800 years, offering care and support and a sacred space to mark life's key moments. We're inviting you to help write the next chapter of this church's story. Remember that most visitors don't know that your parish pays entirely for its own upkeep, that heating, lighting, insurance and repairs are really significant, and that ancient buildings are so expensive to maintain. They also probably won't know that the Church of England's central structures don't pay for any building maintenance, or the government for that matter, as happens in many European countries. So you need to tell them, because nobody else is going to tell them that. Again, a couple of nice phrases. This church is entirely self-supporting. We rely on the generosity of our congregation, our visitors, to maintain this building and to sustain all that we do here in the church and in the local community. This church has been here for 800 years, but only because each generation has cared for it. And finally, point out the impact that your church has on your local area. Many visitors might think that you close the doors after your Sunday services and do nothing else for the rest of the week. So have some examples of your outreach and your pastoral care to share. This year we've supported X number of families or provided however many hot meals. We host groups that support children or carers or older residents. We bring people together who would otherwise be alone. We've welcomed however many people into warm and safe spaces. When you highlight how the church serves the community, you're showing them that their gift has immediate local value. Most people really care about loneliness, food poverty, warm spaces, bereavement support, youth work, family activities. So when you show them that the church works for the common good, you're giving people a really accessible reason to give. And I think at Christmas especially, people are so grateful for places that create belonging and continuity. So framing the church as a community anchor, a place of refuge and listening, gives a sense that giving helps keep something valuable in place. Again, a few nice phrases that might sum those up. By giving today, you help us support our local community throughout the year, from toddlers to the very elderly. Our community work is funded almost entirely by donations, including gifts from those who join us at Christmas. This church carries centuries of history, but its purpose is very present, to serve this community. Your gift today helps us preserve this beautiful place and keep offering practical help and welcome to local people. So I hope those few examples have been helpful. And when you're writing your own giving message, I just want you to keep this question in your mind. What are they making possible when they give to you this Christmas? So that was your compelling message. Let's move on to making giving easy and visible. There are so many ways to give, so make sure you point out all the giving options available. You never know who might be inspired to give in a different way to what you might expect. The obvious one is, of course, encouraging one-off gifts via your contactless device and also offering a QR code for online giving. Please do offer both those options to everyone. Don't decide for them which is easier or the better option. Some people prefer giving on their phone. Others prefer to tap their card on a device. Let them do whatever they prefer. Don't assume that everyone likes giving in the same way that you do. And of course, make sure you also have a way for people to give and gift aid cash if they prefer. I think it's worth noting that for your treasurer or your volunteers, cash gifts are significantly more work to count and record and bank and record the gift aid declaration on. So I would really encourage you to say something along the lines of, gifts made on our contactless device or QR code do save our volunteers quite a lot of time. But if you'd rather give cash, that's fine too. So please do whatever works best for you. It's also worth noting that the average contactless gift in a Church of England parish is £9.90. Almost everyone chooses the £10 option, whereas the average cash gift into a collection plate is between £2 and £3. So by gently prioritising contactless or QR code gifts in that way too, you should significantly push up your average gift size too. Also, make sure you have information available and very visible about regular giving and legacy giving too. I showed you both my leaflet templates earlier. Having both of these available, ideally next to your contactless device, would be ideal. I said it earlier, but it's worth repeating. Never assume that because somebody only turns up to your Christmas carol service once a year, that they will only want to make a small one-off gift on that particular day. You can't possibly know what their emotional connection to your church is or why. You will never know who might want to sign up for a regular gift to support you, so make sure you give them the opportunity to do that. And the same goes for legacy giving. I've been in so many parishes recently who have told me about really significant legacy gifts that have come in from people who were not members of the congregation at all, who were not regular worshippers. So never assume that someone wouldn't be interested in making a legacy gift because they just turned up to your carol service. They are unlikely to want to talk to you about it or ask you questions about it. People don't generally like discussing legacy gifts, so make sure you have something available that they can slip in their pocket and take away with them, and also take to their solicitor with the recommended wording and details of your charitable status. That's especially important if you're a church that doesn't have a registered charity number. Often solicitors assume that that means they're not a charity, so you need to explain your charitable status, particularly if that's the case. And one final point before I move on, don't forget to add your online donation page to a church near you. A church near you gets a huge surge of traffic in December, so don't miss the opportunity to have your online giving page easily accessible there too. It's not particularly obvious how to do that, and I often get questions at this time of year from parishes asking me how to get that set up. So here's a few pointers. So you need to log into your church near you editors page for your church, and then go to Marketplace in the left-hand menu. I told you it wasn't very obvious. And then you just toggle the online giving section to on and click on Configure Donations, that orange button further down. And then you can add the link to your online giving page. That might be your Give a Little page, or it could be your parish giving scheme one-off gifts page, or any other way that your church has of accepting online donations. And I think it's just worth noting, look at these statistics on how many people have looked at this one church's page over the last year, nearly 15,000. This is just the page for a single church in a village in Hertfordshire. This is not a big city centre church. Traffic to the church near you site is absolutely huge. So please do just spend a bit of time making sure all your Christmas services are up to date with really friendly and welcoming descriptions. You've got some nice, bright, friendly photos of your church on your page. That description of your church is really welcoming. I think it's easy to think, oh, well, we've got a really good website, so we don't need to bother with a church near you. They are completely different things with very different audiences. So it really is worth investing a bit of time in, as those numbers show. Back to giving. My final section is on maximising every single gift that's eligible for gift aid. And I'm just going to quickly run through the difference between GADST, the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme, versus Gift Aid. I know that treasurers will all be up to speed on this, but it isn't always widely understood by PCCs. So I thought a quick recap might be helpful. So what's the difference between them? GADST is for small anonymous donations when you don't have a gift aid declaration, whereas gift aid is for donations where the donors are UK taxpayers and have signed a gift aid declaration. Which gifts are eligible? So GADS gifts are eligible if they are cash or contactless gifts and they are under £30. Now there's also a location element to GADS where you can only collect GADS on gifts that are collected within the church building or its grounds. So that's important to note as well. Whereas gift aid can be collected on pretty much any gift of any size. It can be cash, cheque, contactless, QR code, bank transfer, a regular gift, as long as you have a valid gift aid declaration from the donor. And what are the limits? So GADST has a limit of £8,000 a year. It also has this extra bit where it cannot exceed 10 times the value of the gift aid donations claimed in that year. What does that mean? So to unlock the full £8,000 of GADS each year, a parish needs to reclaim at least £800 in standard gift aid. Now, it's quite unusual for a parish to be claiming £8,000 in GADS and not to be claiming £800 in other gift aid during the year, but it's just worth being aware of. Sometimes there are unusual reasons why that's the case. For some parishes, they'll get nowhere near their GADS limit at all, so this really doesn't affect them. But other parishes I know always max out their GADs. So for them, it's really worth thinking about how can we get more people to make a declaration? And that might be as simple as encouraging people to use a QR code to give instead of your contactless device. How long can GADs and gift aid claims be backdated for? So GADs can be claimed for up to 2 years in arrears, and gift aid can be claimed for up to 4 years in arrears, as long as you have valid declarations for those gifts. And those are tax years, not necessarily calendar years. And GADs and gift aid are both worth 25% extra on every gift. And this is why, particularly when you've got lots of visitors at Christmas, it is so worthwhile really drilling down into the detail of this and making sure that you are maximising every single gift as much as you can. What about the benefits to the donors? So there is no benefit to the donor of GADs because the gifts are anonymous, whereas for gift aid, it's just worth remembering that higher rate taxpayers can also reclaim the difference between standard and higher rate tax on their tax return. So for somebody that pays 40% tax, they can claim an extra 25p for every £1 that they give to you back. And an additional rate 45% taxpayer can claim an extra 32.5 pence per pound that they've given you. And I think at tax return time of the year, it's really worth reminding, particularly your regular donors, of that, because what often happens is that they'll donate it back to you, or they'll be more generous next year when they remember that they can reclaim that extra. So it's not one for your Christmas Carol service, but it's just something worth bearing in mind for your other donors, that they can also be reclaiming that tax too. So let's just quickly think about maximising gift aid on your contactless device. And I think particularly at Christmas, for really busy services, it's always a balancing act, isn't it, between getting people to gift aid their donations on the screen, but that takes time and you can end up with a big queue of people literally queuing up to give you money, getting bored and walking off. So we've got good news on this, which is that Give a Little have come up with a really neat way around this. It's just been launched in the last year. So you can now set your Give a Little campaign to only ask people giving £30 or more for a gift aid declaration, and to let everybody else giving smaller amounts just tap and go, because you can put those smaller amounts through GADs. So to switch that on, you need to log into your Give a Little account on a computer, go to campaigns and then to manage, and then scroll down to the bottom of the page to other options, and then click on change and choose the option do not capture declarations of £30 or less. And then once you've done that, it will then ask people giving larger gifts to fill in a gift aid declaration, but it won't ask people making smaller gifts. That option will really make a difference to how quickly people can use your machine. So the majority of people will be able to tap and go. Now, if you're one of those parishes that always exceeds the £8,000 limit on GADs, it's worth having a think about when you use that option and when you don't. For instance, if your church is open during the day and you get quite a few donations from visitors, you might as well ask them all to complete a gift aid declaration. They're probably not in a rush. There's no queue for the device. It's fine to ask them to fill in their name and address on the screen. On Sunday mornings, if it's often the same people using the contactless device each week, remember that these devices can remember cards. So if somebody makes a gift aid declaration the first time they use a credit or debit card on the device, every time they give again using the same card, it will just ask them, do you want to gift aid this donation, yes or no? But they won't have to fill out another declaration. So it might be worth setting up a few different campaigns in Give a Little with different settings. And we're always really happy to help parishes get that all set up. So please do just get in touch if this sounds like something you want some help with. We can often help with this kind of thing remotely and just do it together over a Zoom call if that's helpful. When it comes to your online giving page linked to your QR code, please remember that you can't put these donations through GADs. So you have to make sure that these online campaigns are set to ask everyone for a gift aid declaration. There's no time constraint here because everyone's giving on their own individual phone, so it's fine to ask everyone for a declaration. And in fact, a lot of people have their name and address set to autofill on their phone, so it really doesn't take them any time at all. So this online giving page shown in the picture is a Give a Little page. If your parish uses the parish giving scheme, remember that you do have the option to use your parish giving scheme one-off gift page for QR codes, gifts, if you want to. In that case, the parish giving scheme will collect the gift aid for you and pay it back to you directly, so there's even less admin for your treasurer. If you compare the previous screen that I showed you, this one, the Give a Little page, to the parish giving scheme one, I find the Give a Little campaigns a bit more engaging and user friendly. I think having those suggested donation amounts really makes a difference. But you need to balance that with the impacts on your volunteers too. So if your treasurer finds it much easier to use the parish giving scheme for one-off gifts, you need to look after your treasurer. And so that will be a different decision in every parish. So I can't tell you what to do, but I hope that setting out all those different options has helped a bit. So that's it. That's been a bit of an information dump across a lot of different areas, a bit of a whistle-stop tour of visitor giving at Christmas. If there's anything that I've spoken about today that you think would be useful to have a bit more of a chat about, I'd be really pleased to hear from you and can absolutely give you some help before Christmas if you need it. So please do get in touch. My email address is down here at the bottom of the screen. And remember that a recording of this webinar is going, and my slides as well, will be sent round to everybody afterwards in case those are helpful to share with anyone else in your parish. So I'm just going to quickly check to see whether we've had any questions come through into the Q&A chat. So just give me a second to have a look through those. No, I don't think so, unless anybody has a burning question. I think that's it. So thank you so much for coming. This has been a Learning Lunchtimes webinar from the Flourishing Churches team at the Diocese. We'd love to hear from you as to whether this format is helpful to you, online webinars that you can dip into in your lunch hour. This has been the 4th webinar that we've done this year since September. Recordings of all the previous webinars are available on our website, so just search for Learning Lunchtimes on the Diocesan website. And if we get feedback that you're enjoying them and you find them valuable, we may well continue them into 2026. So please do tell us what you think. So thanks again for joining us today, and please do get in touch if there's anything we can help you with in the run up to Christmas and through into 2026. Many thanks. Bye-bye.